Back in 2018, I started a side hustle. I did it for purely selfish reasons. People were calling me all day long asking me questions, and I didn't have time to answer them all. So I created a digital course that would answer all of their questions so that it would free up my own time again. I could say, hey, I have this course. It's really cheap. You should just go take that. You'll get all your questions answered. Little did I know how many people would want it and how successful that course would be. In the first 12 months, I made $102,000, spending less than $1,000 a month on ads to promote it. Mind blown, right? In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can make your first $100,000 as well. But before we get there, I kind of have to go back in time just a little bit. Let's rewind to 2018. I was a full-time realtor and I was making videos on my YouTube channel to attract people who wanted to buy or sell a house in Savannah, Georgia, the metro area that I service. But it was working so effectively that I had other realtors calling me all day long saying, what are you doing? Is it working for you? How are you doing it? How do you fit it into your schedule? How do you know what to say? How do you know what to do? How do you know how to edit? Are you doing your own editing? They had all of the questions and it was taking up a significant amount of my day. I was trying to teach them one at a time, but it just wasn't working because there's only one of me to go around and there are only 24 hours in a day, and I'm not going to work all of them. I felt like I needed to clone myself, and so a digital course seemed like the perfect solution. However, I had no idea how to market this thing. The only thing I was doing was making videos on YouTube organically or running Facebook ads. And I didn't know a lot about ads. I was trying my best, but some were successful and some were total flops. But the biggest problem was that I was a total cheapskate and I would spend about $5 a day on ads. Maybe I'd go up to $10 a day if I was feeling really rich. So in 2019, I started to investigate ways that I could drive awareness of my program and drive traffic to the landing page in ways that weren't going to break the bank. I learned how to do a webinar. I learned how to host the webinar and how to advertise the webinar, how to conduct the webinar, how to fill it, how to give them great value, and how to sell at the end of the webinar without feeling like a used car salesman. Sorry if you're a used car salesman. No offense. I also talked about the webinar in my organic YouTube videos. So that was my call to action. Hey, I'm doing this deep dive training. You should totally go attend my webinar to learn more about how to make YouTube videos as a real estate agent. Then when it was time for the webinar, I went live. I shared my screen. I did a whole slide presentation. I gave them a ton of value completely for free. And it was my goal that I just wanted them to do it. It was so successful for me. I wanted people to take action and I wanted them to walk away from this webinar feeling like it was an hour of their time that was well spent. Whether or not they enrolled in my program or not, I wanted to inspire people to actually do something that was going to make a big difference in their business. But at the end of the webinar, I did offer my program. I said, hey, if you've liked this training, but now you need some hand-holding, you need to know exactly what to do and how to do it, I invite you to join me inside my paid program. And my thought was, if they like me, they like my personality, they like my presentation style, they felt like what I taught them for free was valuable, that they would say, wow, if this is how much I learned on a free webinar, how much more would I learn if I actually invested in the training program? So after going live with this webinar many times, I eventually turned it into an evergreen program, an evergreen webinar. So that's where you record the webinar one time, and anytime somebody registers for it, they are watching a pre-recorded session. You know how when you get that ad and you go to click on it and it's like, it's starting in 7 minutes. You are not that lucky. It is not a live webinar. It was a pre-recorded webinar, but it's on demand so that people can watch it all of the time. I wasn't spending a ton of money to drive traffic to get people to register for the webinar, but it was working okay. I was having kind of average results. I mean, it was all right, but the conversion ratio was not all that great. It was completely cold traffic after all. I mean, most of the people that were registering did not know who I was, had never heard of me before. Now, in my real estate business, I had been using what I call lead magnets with great success. That is where you do a video and you say, hey, are you thinking about relocating to Savannah? I have this awesome relocation guide that's totally free. Click the link and get your relocation guide. They click it, they go to a landing page, they opt in, they give me their information, they receive the relocation guide, they go into my database, and now I have their contact information so I can follow up with them. Now that worked amazingly well. So I ask you, why wasn't I doing that in my coaching business? Why wasn't I doing that for my training program? So I started making lead magnets. And instead of running ads getting people to register for the webinar, I ran an ad offering them the lead magnet. Because once they opted in and they were in my CRM, now I could follow up with them. So I could send them an email with the thing attached, and another email with some free value, and another email with some free value. And then maybe on the fourth or fifth email, I would say, hey, I have this webinar. You should totally go watch it. By now, they know, like, and trust me, they are a warm audience rather than a cold audience. And that was working far better. Suddenly, I had thousands of people on my email list. I had a huge database of people who had already raised their hand and said they were interested in what I was talking about and what I was offering. Now they were prime candidates for my program. Then I learned how to do a 5-day challenge, and this has been absolutely huge for me. At the time, I had a free Facebook group that had thousands of people in it. And I thought, if I do a free 5-day challenge, a free boot camp, if you will, I'm going to give them so much information and so much value. And then on day 5, I will pitch my program. Exact same idea as the webinar, except that it's spread out over several days. So I am giving them quick wins. I am giving them the tools that they need to see forward momentum, to see progress. They were taking action and implementing. And at the end of day 5, they could see all of these things that they had accomplished. They felt like they were actually doing something rather than passively consuming yet more information that they're never going to actually implement into their own business. They were taking massive action, not passive action. And so my conversion ratio on day 5 of that 5-day challenge has always been amazing. And with every challenge that I've done, it has successively gotten bigger. We've had more people join, more people enroll at the end of the 5 days. Now, this was a mindset shift that I had to make because I was doing this challenge in my free Facebook group. And I didn't want to be an icky salesperson, and I didn't want to sell to my audience. I felt like that's not why they're in the free group. They don't want to just be sold to. But my coach said, hey, this is your group, and you give them tons of free value all year long. You answer their questions, you give them feedback, you're in there being a part of that group. I think that you have earned the right a couple of times a year to tell them, I have a training program. Perhaps you would be interested in signing up. Now, I'm not afraid to tell you, I had to do a lot of work on this thought. The thought was selling is icky. I don't like to sell. Selling makes me feel gross. And I have felt that way my entire adult life. In fact, I used to be in software sales very early on in my career when I was still in college, in fact. And I did not like to sell. I did not want to sell. I didn't enjoy it. I dreaded going to work every day. It was not a great job for me. Because in my mind, selling was icky. Selling was something that gross people did. No one wants to be sold to. I had to do a lot of work on this thought and change my mindset. And I changed it from selling is icky to I have a tool that will change people's lives. I can help people double, triple, quadruple their business. If I keep all of this knowledge to myself, I'm being selfish. I have a tool that can change everything for them. I owe it to them to at least offer it to them. I'm not going to force them to buy it if they don't want it. I'm not going to force them to pay for it if they can't afford it. But at least I will tell them about it and make the offer. What they do with it is up to them. Have you had trouble promoting your business for this exact same reason? Have you had this thought that it's kind of gross to sell? This is your first assignment. You need to work on this thought and change it to something that is going to serve you and serve your audience. Decide what your new thought will be, write it down on a sticky note, stick it to your monitor. I want you to see it multiple times a day. Anytime you start to have a thought of, oh, I don't like selling, you're going to say, whoop, hold on there. We don't think that anymore. That is old programming. That's not how we think. We now think that selling is a service. I will offer it to people because I know that they need it and it will help them. What they do with that offer is up to them. So now you have this amazing mindset. You have an offer that you know changes people's lives. They want it, there is demand for it. But how do you get people into your database at a very low cost or free so that you can start marketing it to them? I have a free download for you to help you create the perfect lead magnet for your audience. You can do it in only an hour, but you have to know what exactly makes it magnetic for your audience. So click the link right here and get your free lead magnet template.